In this video, we are going to learn how to use acrylic paint and different values to create the appearance of form. First, you're going to need to draw yourself a sphere. Give it a surface to sit on, so give it a straight line. Give it a cast shadow. I just traced my water cup to create my sphere, so having a tracer is a great option. Now, we know from our past experiences with form that there is a light source that's going to hit here, and then we have the cast shadow, and down here it's going to get darker. So, I'm going to start by creating my core color. I've decided I would like to do my sphere in orange. So I'm going to get some yellow. I'm going to get a little bit of red, and I'm going to mix. There we go, that's a pretty good orange. So I know I'm going to have some orange right around here. I'm just going to put a little bit of that in. But I also know up here is going to get lighter. So I'm going to need to create a tint. So I'm grabbing some white and I'm going to mix. And I'm making a gradient just like before, but this time I'm following the direction of the curve of the sphere. Be careful when you hit the edges. You can still, clean it up after. This paint is coverable and buildable, but do your best. White now. Remember, as long as your paint is all still wet, so you have to work kind of quick, you can start to blend things together. I'm going to add a bit more white. So now I'm actually starting to mix the white into just part of this orange so that I don't need to use as much of it to create a lighter tint. Use my brush to help blend things together. Maybe go back to a slightly darker version of the color because I've left a little bit of each color on my brush so that I can help blend things together. Whenever I need to, I can wipe and clean a bit. Then I might just go ahead and grab white, put it in the center there, and start to go back in with some orange to blend it out. So I probably need to clean because cleaning my brush will help me get a smoother blend. So I'm cleaning my brush in my water, wiping it off, make sure it's completely clean, and with a just slightly damp brush, I'm pushing my paint around to help it all blend together. Anytime I start to get too much paint on my brush, I am wiping it off because I want it to be clean. I want to keep the colors that are actually on my painting more pure. There we go. And I might go back in with a little bit of my original orange color. Just put a little bit in more. There. Looking good. So now I'm going to start to go in the other direction, where I'm going to start to add, first I'm going to add a bit of blue to dull it down a bit, and then I'm going to add black. So I'm taking just a tiny smidge of blue, and I'm going to mix it all together. And you know what? The blue's too powerful. It didn't work. So what I'm going to need to do is add a little bit more red, maybe a tiny smidge of yellow, and see if I can get back to something more in the middle, a bit more yellow. Okay, that's a little bit better. That's more of a dull orange now. So what I'm going to do, paint in the dull orange here. And then, my paintbrush, I'm going to grab some of my true orange. Start to mix them. That. I think I'd like to go back in with a little more of my pure orange. There we go, that's looking a bit better. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a tiny bit of black, and I'm going to start creating a tone. Remember, the tiniest little bit of black goes a long way. Look how dark that is already. So I seem to be running out of this, and I don't have a lot left. So I'm going to need to mix some more of what this is, which means that I kind of need to remember my recipe for how I got to this color. So I'm going to clean my brush for this. So I know I started with an orange. So I need more yellow, so I'll grab with my more yellow. I'm going to make some orange. Bit of red. So just comparing these two oranges that I see, I think I need just a tiny bit more red. Just a little, that's probably even, maybe slightly too much, but we will see. Yeah, so that was slightly too much red. Grab a swipe of yellow. This is all something that comes from practice, okay? It took me years to become good at mixing paint. I do not expect perfection of any of you. Remember, you can use me as a tool. I love figuring out what colors to use to mix things together, so I'm a great resource for you. All right, a little bit of blue, less blue than that. So almost no blue. Mix it in. Comparing these, I think this looks more green than what's on my page. So when something's too green, we add the complement. If something's too blue, we add the complement. Something's too yellow, we add the complement. Since it's too green, I add just a tiny smidge of red. That looks a bit better. Maybe a smidge more red. There we go. That looks promising. Yes, I like it. So, I do want to go in here with a little bit of this. I think it didn't blend all that well. It's dry by now. When something's dry, we can't really blend it. So I'm painting a bit of this back on top, like so. And then, real quick, I just want to rinse my brush, help this blend up here. Okay, not bad. And then I've got to add in a little bit of black. Remember, the tiniest bit of black is all you need. Okay, black is a very powerful color. Start painting it in. A little bit more black. Say this is my favorite part of paint, is you can paint over it and try again if you don't like what happened the first time. Okay. And then, to get the shadow right, I'm going to go in with just a bit of black. I still have the other color on my brush, so that'll help it blend. I'm going in with just a bit of black. And start pushing it around. And this back and forth motion is going to help it blend. And then I'll clean my brush. The white. And go in, blend it all together. Okay, now don't forget the reflected light down at the bottom. So I should go back in with some of this just orange and blue here at the edge. So notice how I changed the angle I'm holding my brush to help change my direction. And then clean my brush, dry it off, and help everything blend together. And then sometimes as a last step, I'll go back and kind of touch up any areas that are not satisfied with how it came out. I can hear something about that feels off. So I'm just going to fill back in with the color that I kind of saved on my palette. Kind of want to go in with more orange in a bunch of places, so I'll mix a little bit more orange. Much more yellow. Like what I've got. With that. Now I'm doing this with a pretty light hand because everything around it's dry, which means it's a lot harder to blend. So I'm trying to stay really light. Just put in a little bit where I need it. And then going with a dry, clean paintbrush. And just blend it all back together again. Alright, now I've got to do the background. So I guess I'll start with the surface that it's sitting on. I think I'm going to make this surface like dark gray. So I'll grab some white. I think maybe you want it to be a slightly bluish gray. Grab some white, so I'll grab a little touch of blue and the tiniest dab of black in the world, because black's going to really overpower white. And I blend. Alright, so I actually can go a little bit darker, a little bit more black in there. Remember, add a little bit of color at a time when you're trying to mix something. You know what? I think that's a little too just like light blue for me. So I'm going to add a little bit more black. Maybe let's do a little swipe of the orange to help dull it down. Maybe I'll grab a little bit of this. That's the great thing about paint. It's all about experimenting, finding a color that works for you. This is one of my favorite things to do, is just play. Black, for this. Alright, that looks like a pretty good color to me. Blue-gray. So, I'm going to paint it in here. Let's draw a straight line and hold my brush down. And pull. So I got that on one side. Turning your paper is often your friend. Place and pull. Gotta be careful going around the sphere. I think all of this is dry, so I can do it pretty safely. Often when you have to paint right next to something you just painted, let it dry first. You're gonna like your results better if you let it dry. And here, hopefully you remember, that's going to be the cast shadow, which needs to get darker. So out here, it's going to fade out to be the color of the rest of the tabletop. In the center, it's going to get darker and darker. So, do is start adding a little bit black. Paint in. Now, these edges can be kind of fuzzy. It's fine. So always try and mix enough paint to finish the job, but remember, you can always make more of any color as long as you remember your recipe. Also, if you ever can't remember what your recipe is, have me help. Orange. Yeah, okay. Black. So my paint's getting dirty, so I just contaminated it with a bit of white. Not the end of the world, but just something you need to be aware of. That's why I've been talking about the importance of keeping your paint space clean, keeping all your colors clean. Put that in. So, a bit more black. Continue. And paint it in at the end. Blend it back out. I'm rushing a little bit now, but you get the idea. There we go, cast shadow. And then you do just a plain color for the background. So those are the steps.